Hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another instalment of my ongoing and surprisingly unpopular weekly segment, Valiant Till the Last. I was a little bit surprised at how few views these videos get, given that Valiant is a relatively high profile comic company, and I know that the deluxe editions especially are quite popular amongst collectors. But if you are one of the 3 or 4 human viewers that I have for this, thank you very much for sticking with the show. So, with no further ado, in this week's episode and installment of Valiant Till the Last, we'll be covering this particular deluxe edition. This is Exo Manowar Deluxe Edition Volume 5, which is the end of this particular series and run of Exo Manowar. So, let's have a look at the cover. I'm not a massive fan of this particular art. It's kind of a very arty, minimalist sort of thing. But it works, I guess. We've got the usual banner, Deluxe Edition 5. This is the highest numbered Deluxe Edition in the entire Valiant reboot line, to be honest. It's got the usual kind of banner there. Spine, standard spine, the way it normally looks on the shelf. Deluxe Edition 5. And this entire series, all 50 issues, has been written by Robert Venditti. We've got the usual bit on the back, image, tagline, blurb. Okay, let's pop open the dust jacket. We've got the usual French flap in the front. We've got the usual French flap with the creators on the back. Alright, let's get the dust jacket off and see what this looks like raw. And under the dust jacket we have got the standard silver decal there. So Exo Manowar, this is foil blocking, so they basically stamp it in and emboss that in. That looks cool. And then we have the spine, and this spine, unlike the one we looked at last week, is perfectly well centered and will look great on your shelf if you display your books raw. Nice clean back. Alright, and then we have the end leaves, standard black. The binding, absolutely standard. It's very strong, very robust binding, nice glossy paper, really good build quality. So here we have it, Exo Manowar Book 5. What is collected? There's 3 arcs that are collected. To start off with, we've got the kill list, which is issue, it's a one-shot called Exo Manowar Commander Trill 0, which is an issue 0. We've already seen an Exo Manowar issue 0, but this is an issue 0 that focuses on Commander Trill, who's sort of Exo Manowar's primary antagonist in many ways. We then have issues 43, 45, 43, 44, 45, 46. And we then have Exo Manowar Annual 2016. This is composed of 3 smaller stories within it. We then have a brand new arc, which is Long Live the King. And for that we have issues 47 to 50. And again, issue 50 has 4 smaller issues, or smaller story arcs within it. Issue 50 is massive. It's like a 50-page issue. And actually both of the arcs literally link seamlessly from one into the other, so the kill list ends on a dramatic cliffhanger that then gets resolved in Long Live the King. Okay, and then finally we have other tales, and as we've seen before in Bloodshot, for example, what we have here is the 4001 Manowar one-shot and the Book of Death Exo Manowar one-shot. Okay, cool, and then we have the usual creators and details there. Alright, let's get into it. This is the first arc called the Kill List, so you've got Commander Trill 0 and then the issues there. Cool cover, I like it. And this is just a backstory of Commander Trill, who's a character that we saw in the very first two, definitely the first one, possibly also in Deluxe Edition 2 as well. Cool story. And then after this story, we then get into the Kill List, which continues directly on from the events of Deluxe Edition 4 anyway. So this is Exo and Ninjak basically going around being badasses. Artwork is good, storyline is good. Also includes the Armorines, who were originally introduced at the start of Deluxe Edition 4, but now this is sort of what the Armorines have become. Yeah, what can I say? Enjoyable story. Where are we now? Yeah, with decent artwork. I don't know why they didn't pick this kind of artwork for the cover for the dust jacket, but at the end of the day, dust jacket decisions seem to be a little bit inscrutable as far as I can see. I don't really work out why Valiant make the choices that they make. So yeah, this is it. It's continuing on. Yeah, it was cool, and it was enjoyable. Where are we here? And then we have XO46. Yeah, Robert Venditti wrote all this. This is just really impressive, especially given he'd never done a long-standing or long-running series prior to this. I think subsequently he's done some stuff for DC in the New 52. I think he did Green Lantern over there, which actually makes a lot of sense because that has a similar kind of cosmic scope to a lot of the stories in Exo Manowar. But yeah, this was just great. I really enjoyed it. And here we have Annual 2016. Now, Annual 2016, like I said, is split into a series of different smaller stories. It's well worth reading. These aren't just fillers and random non sequitur one shots. They're actually things that become much more relevant as you read the subsequent stories as well. So this is mapped in exactly the right time and place for reading this. Yeah, there's this story, The Prisoner, which is pretty cool. What else is there? Ah, yes. So this story, the end of the 2016 one-shot, actually segues into, I think it says here, yeah, it does. To see what happens here, the director's story continues in, oh, can we see that? Faith, Hollywood and Vine, which is the first series, the first 4 issues, or the first series which is a 4-issue miniseries of Faith from the Harbinger line. Now, we've already read that, and in my review of that deluxe hardcover edition, I did point out that basically the story just starts and you're meant to know that aliens exist, but once you get on board with that, you're fine. Well, I guess it kind of segues smoothly on from this. That said, I think reading this after reading Hollywood and Vine works, whereas had I read this and then started reading all the Harbinger and Hollywood and Vine stuff, I don't think it would have actually worked as well. So I think, personally, I think reading Faith and Harbinger and all that line of comics prior to reading the Exo Manowar line of comics works really well, and I've kind of fortuitously lucked into the decent order of doing this. Okay, then we get into the next arc, Long Live the King. I'm not going to give many spoilers other than to say we have a new primary antagonist here. One of the things I will point out is that my ongoing criticism of Exo Manowar remains, which is that the power set and the skill sets and the weapons and so on within the Exo Manowar armor remain ill-defined. And so as a result, even though this story arc includes a brand new villain and a brand new antagonist we've never seen before, again with power sets we've never seen before, it's really kind of hard to understand how much of a peril these bad guys, the Torment, really pose to Exo Manowar, because we don't really have any idea of what the limitations of the armor are. And that's even after 50 or so issues of reading all this. Again, I don't know what the armor can and can't do. So it's, okay, I think that's the one key flaw to Exo Manowar, which is the lack of definition of boundaries and parameters and limitations for the main character. But that said, you know, these antagonists come out of nowhere, the Torment, and they are the main antagonists for the Long Live the King arc. And then with that in mind, Exo does obviously vanquish them, spoiler warning. And yeah, it's a good, decent story, and it's a good, decent ending. Let's see, the story ends, where does it end? Ends here. And then issue 50 then has a couple of other smaller stories within it. So this one is about a guy called Gaius Malleus, who's a Roman legion. It does involve the Time Walker, I forget her name, but she's in Faith in the Future Force as well. It does involve her as well momentarily. To be honest, I wondered whether or not this Roman centurion was in some way linked to the Valiant series or set of miniseries, Britannia. I don't think he is, but I haven't read Britannia. I know nothing about Britannia, so watch this space. But that was that story, and then subsequent to that, there was then this other story involving Ninjak, which is kind of cool. That said, this Ninjak story, which is at the end of Exo Manowar issue 50, had slightly, I mean, the artwork just isn't good. It feels much more like a webcomic, which I normally wouldn't point out, except from what I gather, the current and ongoing Ninjak series at time of filming this has a similar kind of really reductive, almost childish webcomic art look, which I am not a fan of. I mean, look at this. Look at how Exo is standing. Look at this. What is this? I don't mind this in a backup feature because only a couple of pages long and it's not really serious in continuity. I mean, I suppose it is in continuity, but it doesn't really matter. But I'm kind of concerned as to what the Ninjak ongoing series is going to be like if this is a standard of the artwork. But anyway, problem for another day. Then there's another really short scene here at the end of issue 50, which essentially is just about like some kind of weird future war-torn Earth or planet, and there's Arik sitting on a throne. So to be continued. I don't know where this is to be continued. I'm really intrigued. I'm really interested in this. What an image! Doesn't really tell you anything. Okay, and that takes us to finally. Oh, there's like an art breakdown of one of the splash pages here, which is kind of cool. That takes us then to the final two issues, Other Tales. So we've got 4001 and then we've got Book of Death. 4001 AD, again, this works as a standalone story. That said, the deluxe edition does continue with a really brief summary of the events of the 4001 AD one shot an unlimited series. That said, I think you can just read this one shot in and of itself. It's just quite interesting. You don't need much background into what's happening in 4001 AD, and it ends in quite a. It's quite cool. I enjoyed it basically, and again, it's got me intrigued to reading the 4001 AD series. And then the other and final one shot is Book of Death: Fall of Exo Manowar, which is meant to be the death of Arik. Again, it's got like a little bit of a summary as to what the Book of Death is here, and then it goes straight into the issue itself. In terms of this, the issue here, also very good. Hasn't got me as intrigued about the Book of Death as perhaps it wants to. I'm much more intrigued about the 4001 AD event. But that said, it's a decent standalone singular one-shot. Artwork is very solid and consistent, and the writing is not bad at all. Okay. That takes us to the end of that. And then we have the gallery. Gallery is standard gallery features. So some black and white, some pencil sketches, some artist breakdowns, and some DVD style script breakdowns as well. Is it just me? Or do the Torment look just like the Omacs from the New 52 in the DC universe? They do. They look just like Omac, don't they? I'm not making this up, right? All right, so that's the rest of the special features, and that takes us right to the end. And unusually, this deluxe edition ends with an advert for the next series. So after this series of 50 issues by Robert Venditti, Exo Manowar gets relaunched with a new number one. It continues the story of Arik, as far as I am aware. I haven't read it yet, and it has this distinctive yellow branding on the covers, and this is also yellow branding, which is on the deluxe edition, which we'll look at very soon. And this is all written by Matt Kint, who is the person behind the Divinity series. So this is the next deluxe edition, and in theory, that's what we're going to read next. However, that's not what we're going to be reading and reviewing next week on this channel, because what I want to do before we get into Matt Kint's Exo Manowar relaunch is I want to look at a often forgotten and often overlooked mini-series starring Exo Manowar called Exo Manowar Dead Drop. Now this is a 4-issue mini-series that took place at some point during the events of Deluxe Edition 4, possibly even Deluxe Edition 5. I haven't read it. I know literally nothing about it. I don't know if it's any good or not. What I do know is that it's not collected as a deluxe edition. And as such, it's going to be one of those videos next time where I just talk about the single issues and what I read and what I thought. But given it is set during this Robert Venditti era of Exo Manowar, and is definitely set before the Matt Kint era, it made sense, I think, to have a look at that often overlooked miniseries before we crack back on with our deluxe editions, which we'll do in 2 weeks' time with the Matt Kint one and volume 1 of that. So if you want to follow along next week, it's just going to be the 4-issue miniseries Dead Drop with Exo Manowar. I have done 4-issue reads before when I read events like the Valiant and so on, so who knows, maybe Dead Drop will be really good, maybe it won't. What I will say is I'll be reading that next week, and then the week after, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be looking at the next volume of Exo Manowar, which will have that distinctive yellow branding, and will be Exo Manowar Volume 1. It'll look a bit like this, and we'll be covering that. But until then, hopefully you guys can track down Dead Drop and read along with me. As always, please like, comment below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Alright, thanks for watching everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.